All right, so I'm streaming again. This is let's go back over to the game for a second. So right now, the where I left off in this is uh, I have the Vigilante Racer game. I'm inside of this world, and I need to create a pathway for the AI cars to travel. So basically, a node mesh that's going to have points all over this. Very similar to the actual edges or vertices that we see from the mesh of the buildings themselves. However, it's not those. It's going to be more inward, and I don't want it to just follow along a little bit to the inside because we still have corners and things. And for the time being, I think it'll be easier to just create it manually. Then I can actually choose paths and not have to worry about where it procedurally puts things. Okay, so part of the way to do that is I need an editor tool to add these, and I need that to be fast and easy. So just dragging this thing around to various spots and pressing A, which I don't even need to drag this object around. I can just hold my mouse to particular spots and press A. However, the code right now for that has not been working well. I wasn't able to get on-scene GUI to basically react to any of the key presses. However, what I found is that there were certain things inside the event that weren't being allowed. Event.current dot is key. I don't think that was getting triggered. Is it a keyboard event? Same thing with key down. So key down, whichever one that was, dot down. It's not in there. I don't remember what I was looking for on it. But one of the things, a couple of the different things identifying that, like is key. Yeah, is key was not being set to true, even though I'm pressing the letter A, that was false. So I don't know what's up with that. A bug in Unity, maybe? At least, actually, you know what? Is key, is this a keyboard event? Considering the fact that it is capturing the fact that I press the letter A, the letter S, whatever, and it doesn't trigger that it is a key, this is a bug, period. If it wasn't a bug, if they had some specific use case that it shouldn't be used in various places, then that should be called out here, especially if it still holds the data. So I should see IntelliSense information with that, or XML comments that are holding it, but they don't have it. So I consider it a bug with the environment. All right, so I'm not going to be using any detection. I'm just going to use, to decide whether or not we are in move mode, I'm basically going to say, uh, this is, the mouse is over the window. I don't care what other panel is actually highlighted. I really like Blender's approach to this, where you just, whichever panel the mouse is over, that's the hotkeys. It's the hotkeys for that panel. It doesn't matter if you've clicked into that panel or not. So I'm going to stick to that. However, Unity goes by whichever panel you have selected. So if I have the hierarchy selected and I press F, then it zooms in on the object, and same thing in the scene because they happen to be related. But if, actually, you know what? Let's test this. So right now I press F, that's going to bring me to this object. I select this one and press F, it brings me to that one. I click to this one, same. Now, let's say I click to this one, and now I click into here, and I press F. Nothing happens. I move my mouse back over here. Nothing happens. So even though the mouse is over this panel and this is currently selected, oh, wrong key. Wait, I was hitting the wrong key. Let's test that again. Click to here, F. Okay, it does it on the inspector as well. Okay, so that one seems to be reacting to all. However, some of the other things don't. And I don't have a good example I can pull up. All right, back to the code. So my objective right now is that I pulled in some of my old code for automatically aligning an object to the surface. And instead of the surface, I'm having it move out a distance, the distance from surface. Now, last point, the original one, it's basically as long as you're holding Shift or A or something like that, or basically as long as you're dragging the object, it automatically redetermines what environment or what object the mouse is directly over, gets the hit point from the raycast, and assigns your object that position and the rotation according to the object that you're placing it on, or the surface that you're placing it on. So if you have a surface like this, the object goes on like that. If the surface is like this, the object goes on like that. It matches the surface. Now, that has a different mentality of what I need. So I need my system, the traffic system, to be able to grab traffic intersection points or movement nodes. So let's see. On this one, we have draw update. I want a button on the script that will save this location. Yeah. So it was originally in move mode, but now I'm changing it over so it's on key presses. So in this one, I found that I can store what the last key was in the system editor, and then as long as that changes, then I can react to it. Now, it also changes back to an empty character, to a null character or character 0, when no character has been set. So that's incredibly useful. I can find out when I selected this and when I didn't. And for taking the mouse off or taking the key, my finger off the key, that triggers a new event with a null character. So I have my way to detect it. I'm not able to use Unity's event to do this. And calling use didn't really matter because I wasn't getting the right information inside of here. However, I suppose I should call use anyway. No, I'm stuck in a really weird scenario as well. Here's another problem I'm running into with OnScene GUI. OnScene GUI gets called multiple times. So if I say to use it, and then I mark that everything should be in move mode, but then I end up having it get called a second time, then that use case has already been called. It feels like this one, the OnScene GUI, should just be left as a coroutine. So it's like once you get to a point, it can come back to it. But no, I understand why they do it. They have to recall and reset what all those layers are. So every time they're doing a layer, that makes sense. All right. So first thing that we're doing is we're deciding what is it? Scene view mouse position. We're getting the mouse position. I don't need this information, the scene view mouse position. So I'm setting that information, but I don't need to set it until I'm actually in move mode. But move mode is just an event now. So let's take advantage of this as if it were an event. I need 3 different events that are going on. I need public, bool, which I'm not going to be using them here. Oh, what is it? We need to add a character, remove a character, and connect a character. Okay, so let's try that. Add, move, and connect. But the keys should be close by, like ASD maybe. Oh, and no, because ASD, like WASD, and as well as Q and E on the keyboard, if I'm doing that, then there are times where I'm going to be right-clicking and dragging around the scene, especially when I'm trying to find different places to put nodes. So I don't want to use those ones. Let's do a quick check on this. When I'm inside of here, let's consider XZXC. So right now I'm using WASD to move around while my right click is pushed, and then Q and E move up and down. Let's try ZXC. Nothing. Okay, ZX and C are all freely available to use right now. Maybe there's something I'll overlap with this, but the objective is that it's only going to happen when I click on this traffic cube over here. There it is. It was hiding. I should put a different color on that. Let's take care of that now because I couldn't find it. Let's go to this, create folder, editor materials, create material. And we're going to call this edit highlight. Okay, we've got an object. Let's pick a color and an emission. There we go. Sure. Glow. And the original color. Go back to this one and reduce the emission on this. There. Somewhere in between there. Okay, so next I need to use this on the actual object. Let's go over to here to cube. Pile the shader. How does it render this one down here if it doesn't have the shader already compiled? It's got to be doing something else. I don't know what it's doing. Anyway, that's easier to see. Kind of matches the lights though. Oh, A gets used. Since A gets used, I can't move around. That's still happening inside of the traffic system right now. All right, we've got highlight in here. Now inside of this, the last code was checking for A. So I had A, I was in the scene view, and it was using it, so I could no longer move to the right. All right, so inside of here, we can use the A. Oh wait, it's not the A we're going to use. We're getting rid of these ones, and we're going to go off to the actual class in here. What are the fields that we're going to want on this? This is just an editor tool, and it's not something that, well, whatever. It's for kind of a hack job on this. Public bool is, oh, let's see. Public bool, this is to adjust things. We want to point node add, comma, node move, comma, node connect. I should also have node select. Okay, which would imply V being used here. So node add would be that I'm adding a new node. Wherever the mouse is, it's supposed to add a new node, and it should assume connection from automatically from the one that I'm in. So which one I've got selected, as I move my mouse to another spot, if I press the node move button, it will just take that node and move it. If I press the node add button, it will make a line connecting it to the new node. If I say node connect, it will leave the node where it is and try to find the closest node to the point where I just clicked and connect it to that. And then node select means that I've moved my cursor over another or close to another point. It will try to figure out what point that is and connect it. Now, the only thing that I don't have in here is the ability to remove a connection or a node. I don't have the ability to remove a node. I can just reset them. You know what? I can figure out, I can add that stuff later. No, I'll still need it. It's a design tool. It's got to be there. Okay, so what are the other ones? Node remove. And what's the other one? Node remove and line remove. How do I remove a connection between 2 points? I have to have one selected, and then when I click on the other one, it's remove connection. Okay, so node remove connection. All right, let's add some comments on each one of these. Let's see. Public node add adds a node at the point my cursor is over, connecting it to my current selection. Okay. So the next one in here is public bool node move. Moves the node to the new mouse position. Node select. Okay, node connect. Connect the node I'm over to the node I have. Yeah, I'm closest to with the mouse to the connect the node I'm closest to with the mouse to the node. I'm ending this with a preposition. That's not at the end of a sentence, but that's makes it confusing. Connect the node the mouse is closest to the node to the currently selected node. All right. Change the current node selection to the one closest to the mouse. All of these are false to begin with. Public bool. I'm also setting this up because so they need to be pulled to be used. I suppose I could actually change it to events. I could change it to events. There's functions on here. Make them functions, not booleans. Void. Node add. All right, let's continue this behavior or this pattern. So the last two, node remove. Remove the currently selected node and all paths to it. Public void node remove connection removes the removes the current connection from the selected node to and the node closest to the mouse, the cursor. All right, so those are in there. These are effectively all the things that I need for manipulating the data. Now, there's also a couple other fields that I need to have in here, and this is the 3D space that the mouse is at. So I'm altering the entire code base over to this new one. So public vector 3 node add uh, mouse world position. Okay. The where the mouse is for when any of the node functions are called. Okay, so that sets the node where any of them are called. We will also need a couple extra pieces of information about what the currently selected node is, which is an index. Public int, this is not, but the inspector doesn't need to know that. Right now, I should just have a last selected. Where was that? Distance from surface. I don't need to know the normal in this case. Oh, yeah, I don't. I do need to know the normal here. Okay. Wait, what is normal angle fields? It's just a bool to align this? Oh, got it. That's my fields for here. Is that a struct? Yes. So this is just a personal habit of mine. I like to organize fields that show up inside of mono behaviors inside of a struct. So from that struct, I then have this inside of here. Now, what's really useful about a struct is it does two separate things. One, it stores the memory in the same place as the variable. So this variable is stored directly in the memory of the class. It's not an object sitting somewhere else, like a class would be. The second thing is because it is a serialized sub-object, basically, it's still Unity's inspector automatically separates those sections out and puts drop-down arrows in them. So I don't need special formatting tools or logic to be able to display it comfortably. So if I go back into Unity, and which one was this? This one was for traffic system. Once that compiles. So traffic system, normal angle. Normal angle shows up under its own setup. Now, the name for that one doesn't really matter anymore. However, what I could do, yeah, I'll leave that one as is. We'll come back to it. All right, so those are the functions that I'm going to want to actually do things. I no longer need an update running inside of here. Draw update. Oh, I suppose I need the update to actually draw things. That makes sense. The mouse position, I could use the mouse position so every time that I'm moving the mouse around, it will automatically display the nodes near that part where the mouse is, because I don't want to display everything. Okay, so in this one, Z, which one was Z do? Node add. Add node. Connect to current node. Okay. X goes to node move, move node, select it to mouse location. I don't need to emphasize mouse location. That probably makes enough sense. Next one. You know what? I'm going to leave that first one up there at the top, but I'm going to do this. C move node, then we do node connect. Node connect. Connect current node. Connect selected node to mount node nearest to cursor. I'm putting all this extra detail information in just because this is easy to forget with all the different details what is going on with them. So this lays it out for the user. This also instructs me as the developer what to do. So after C comes V. So that was node connect, and now we have node select. Yeah, move node to cursor. Node remove. Remove node from, bring this up. Okay, there. All right, remove node from selected. What else we got? Remove node from selected. Oh, this one removes selected node. Remove selected node. And the last thing is remove the connection point. So that one goes to N. Okay, so this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going to change these to 6. All right, let's make sure that the actual text is updated. Did this have any functional code errors? No. But I have the instructions up here. Okay. Now, they're selectable, but not. That is totally editable. What does the read-only do? Is this Unity-based? System. No. Okay. How to set a read-only text area in Unity C# UI. Okay, not with that one. Read-only text field. That's UI Toolkit. I suppose I should be using UI Toolkit for this, but I don't care. This is supposed to be fast. So much for that working well. Attribute. Okay, it's creating a property drawer for read-only attribute, which means we display the property and we disable the GUI for that particular one. Okay, so we could make our own. Cool. I'll go with that. Now to do that, let's save this, return back to Unity, and inside of here I need editor code for this. So where are we? Scripts. Let's create editor. Create folder editor. Create C# script, and we're going to go with read only drawer. Okay, this one is a property drawer. Rid of the stuff inside it. Okay, we will need Unity Engine, Unity Editor, so now I need to do, well, let's go back to here. That's a custom property drawer. There. Type of, can I do it this way? No. And that one is going to be read-only drawer. Read-only attribute. Which Unity? That's in Unity Collections, which is not a part of their example. So in this example, they're using property drawer. They're using type of. They attach it to read-only attribute. Read-only attribute in this is a child, or the only namespaces that they're using is Unity Editor, Unity Engine. But then this item is inside of System Component Model or inside of Unity Collections. There is not one inside of Unity Engine by itself. Well, I guess we'll go with this one. So if we end up using this on the code, which, what does this one actually do? If it's inside of collections, it's an attribute. It can go to a field, to a parameter, or a return value. Okay. Sure. Got it. Okay, so it's used for ECS or DOTS, DOD. Now we're going to repurpose it for this as well. I wonder, there's a risk that that'll have some errors inside of it, but let's go back to what the actual code was. Public override, and this one is on GUI. So we're not going to display the base callout on this one. Instead, we're going to say GUI.enabled equals false. Then we're going to set the property field. We want to display the property field at this point. So editor GUI dot property field, and inside of here position, comma property, comma label, comma true. Include children, true, okay. So it just displays the same one as it was before, uh, but it's just disabled. GUI dot enabled equals true. Okay, so theoretically that one should be working. Now let's go over to traffic system, and on this field, I don't want it to be from system.component model, nor do I need system.security pulled into this. So read only control dot should pull in from Unity collections, which means it shouldn't need this. Perfect. Okay, so theoretically that should be not editable. It should still be selectable. See how Unity's doing. There it is. Still building. Okay. There we go. Now we're going to select the freight cube. I can still edit it. Okay, this is a very low priority. I am not concerned here. However, all that stuff should be in it. Cool. All right, so I got the instructions in. We got the new world position. Now I need this thing to start reacting to it. So it's no longer design or move mode. We're going to be calling functions when this changes. So if the character is no longer the last character, this is effectively what we want to know. Designer target, we're changing the position of where this is. That's the scene view position. Should we store the scene view position regularly? I don't see a reason to. Vector 3. What is this one? Just 2? Vector 2. Scene view position, and this will equal, let's do the same stuff it was before. It's assigned but never used. Yes, that's correct. That will change. All right, we're going to get rid of in move mode. We're not going to be using that one anymore. The next thing that we have over here, we know that the character is now changing. So if char equals, I want to do a check on this. Before that gets saved, I want to see if I have caps lock on, if that changes the key code for the character to a capital A. All right, so over here, that's selected. Let's go. B. Okay, so Z, it's all showing up lowercase. Now I'm going to go caps lock ZX. It does show up capitalized. So in that case, I do want to get rid of, what was it? Bit 32? One of the bits. Suppose I could just do L case. No, I don't want to do L case. That passes it through a function. And even if that's aggressively inlined, then that function still, that's extra processing. If I can put the actual character value directly in here, then it gets compiled as that character value. and the check becomes easier. So in this case, I want to do it as a number. What was the difference between that? So let's do another one. Debug.log. Oh, my caps lock is on. That would do it. Debug.log, and we're going to have, let's see, byte A plus byte A put that in the code for a minute. I suppose I could just search this. What would that be? That would be an OR statement or an XOR? Not an XOR. To convert. Okay, so it's this and the original value. So I would have an AND statement on there. C#. Okay, so it does uppercase first, and it's 0x20 was the bit key. Well, actually, I did just wanted to see that my code is working too, so let's do that. So in here, I've got the items selected. Okay, 0x20, so that is a 32 difference, I believe. Yeah, 32. Cool. All right. 0x20. Where's my code? Let's just convert the character right away into the byte value that I want. So inside of here, byte C equals event dot current dot character, and we're just going to wrap that with a byte beforehand, or cast it as a byte. Okay, so in this case, it's going to be C, and the last character is now going to be a byte. Log byte character, last character C, and this one, yes, that's comparative in that setup. So at this point, we know that the value is changed. If the last character was C, then we set it. Okay. No, if it doesn't match the last character, we now set it to the new one, byte. Oh, to C in this case. Last character equals C. Now we're going to put in another line if C does not if C equals 0, then return. It has nothing else to do this time. Does continue exit an if statement? No, return. Okay, debug.log, new character, last character. We are reporting the values. However, let's do another thing. If I want to cast the capital A as a lowercase a, then that should be debug.log byte a or 0x20 plus some random string. This needs to be in its own section, converted back into a character. A should convert over, and I'm going to put in one more debug line here. A. So both of these. So that one was for lowercase a, this one was for capital A. Both of them should have a lowercase a next to them at the end of this test. It's been a while since I've worked with that. Where is Unity? Okay, click to there, A. Okay. Yeah, both converted to lowercase. All right. So by casting the or against 0x20, I converted a character to lowercase. Excellent. That makes it a heck of a lot easier. So in this case, now that I know what the character is, I don't care what the type is. This one should compile down just to the byte value that gets put into here. So it doesn't have to do casting every single time. Next, A, those ones don't matter. We're just testing, so we know that this gives us the lowercase. 0x20 or char equals lcase char. All right, so now that I've got the character, I need to respond to those characters. If C equals byte, and on here we're going to say Z or 0x20. Got to wrap that, I guess. I would have thought that the or statement that you would have needed double or on there in order for it to get out of, to be considered part of the comparative. Yeah, never mind. I'm probably not even using the right vocabulary there. But whatever, I've got the answer for that one. So if it's Z, then which function did we want? I'm just going to take a screenshot of this one, print screen. All right, that's up on a lower screen right now, or a lower monitor. Z equals node add. So that is designer.node add. If C equals byte, you know what? I can just duplicate this one. Z X Y C V B N, which N is the last one. All right. Those are in there, and now it's not node add, it is node move, node connect, node select, node remove, NRC, node remove connection. Okay, that sets them all. The only other thing in here is that I need the actual value to be set for its position, its worldview position. So I can obtain its world position right now and store that information. So that's the world position. In order to obtain that, we take a look over at the update and align normal, F12, and inside of here I am getting the raycast points and getting this information. So I'm going to copy this out. Control C, and we'll extract the parts that we need. Okay, so this is designer. This one we need transform. So this is going to be var transform equals designer dot transform. Okay, transform is set. Distance from surface is designer distance from surface. Designer dot distance from surface, and last hit point is designer dot last hit point. I'm not even sure if I need that stuff yet, but let's find out. We store this, we store its positions. We translate up. We're transforming the position of the object to this other spot. So that's where the game object moves to. All right, so inside of this case, the last point, that's the value that I wanted. What was that one? That was world point, designer dot world, mouse world position equals h point. Is it the hit point that I want? Okay, we're going to add a couple others. Designer dot mouse world normal equals h dot normal. So the objective of mouse world normal and mouse world position is that I'm storing the value back to there that includes where it actually hit and what direction that surface is facing, because I want to pull that point away from the surface. Now this variable doesn't exist, so yeah, go create it. Property, no, just, that's fine. Excellent. So theoretically, those should all be there. Let's do debug.log add. Okay, so I've got node add and node move. That should be in there. Let's test that those key presses make their way through. Unity takes so much longer to compile. I know there's hot reload. I haven't been liking it too much, particularly because it doesn't work in ECS yet, or it hasn't been working in ECS. Maybe that's changed. Unity hot reload ECS. ECS support. Not supported. At least, okay, that's the AI one. First compile, hot reload for Unity. What's this one? Hot reload has been tested and is compatible with the default C# compiler in Unity jobs, which use plain C# code. Burst compiled code is not supported. Okay. But I'm not using ECS in this either, so you know what? Let's go to packages. And updates all packages. Oh, my assets. Let's go to hot reload. Download updated and import. Speed up the development time. That's going to complain about a few things that it needs to install. I wonder if it needs to restart the operating system. It shouldn't need to restart the operating system, but maybe Unity. Okay. Was almost ready. There we go. It's inactive. Let's start it. Install. Yes. Tell me info about what you're installing. Additional content. Hot Reload ships an extremely lightweight extension. However, in order for Hot Reload to function, it needs to download Hot Reload server binary. Server binary? What is it doing? Okay. So, like, I would understand like a binary being to execute stuff locally and they just have some of their code inside of this separate binary, but then it's not part of the Unity package. Okay, so by default, Hot Reload ships as an extremely lightweight extension. However, in order for Hot Load to function, it needs to download the Hot Reload server binary for the specific platform and Unity version it's running on. When Hot Reload first starts, it will seamlessly download this server binary, sure. And then Hot Reload will only download the server binary on startup each time the package is updated to a newer version. Okay. Hot Reload downloads the server binary after install, blah, 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 rather than the package due to the initial size of the binary. Rather than the packaging them all in the initial asset and making the total asset size massive. What would be the difference? We have to have it installed in our system, but then it's not part of the actual Unity asset package is not part of your project. It's a separate install. Okay, so that goes to local app data, singularity group, hot reload. Hot reload. What do you do with this, and why do you call it a server binary? That one. All right, Unity hot reload server binary. Are they processing our code or parts of it through their servers? Are they copying my code? Hot reload for tool, blah, blah, blah. Okay, this does not tell me. All right, I'm going to ask an AI to see if it can figure this one out because I'm not finding information on it quickly enough. All right, I'm using chat. Oh, where is this? Get out of there. All right, so I'm using DeepSeek on that one. I also have all of it set up for settings and data to what was it? Not improve the model for everyone, because that basically means take all the conversation and everything that I'm having with it and share it out to everyone else. Which is why it's free. Okay. Your source code is not being copied or processed to an external server. The only outbound communications is for license validation and optional anonymized telemetry that does not include your code. Okay, cool. I'm happy with that. Do you have a source? In no event will hot reload send project code to our servers. Yes, translate. Okay, so this is hot reload. Under no circumstances will hot reload send project code to our services. All right, that's from their website. Cool. Of course, I already attached it, but it's the beginning of the project. Okay, that's on and running. Yay. Any special settings I should consider? Recompile immediately. Okay, cool. I will just accept the defaults as is, and let's continue with this. I'm going to move this one down to here. No, it's a setting one. I'm going to move that to here. Okay, so now when I'm making changes, that should theoretically happen faster. However, it's not going to be able to capture everything. Unable to update the following assets. Which one? Reload runtime dependencies. That may have been when it first started. Okay, what was the last thing that I wanted to test before I made this change? Node add and node move. So that should show up in here. I'm going to select that object. No, from scene. Select that object, and that is Z and X. So Z and X. Oh, this is interesting. That's node add. I'm not getting any debug loose callouts though. All right, so what am I doing inside of the code? Am I still calling anything in here? Is this saved? Looks like it's saved. What's it complaining about here? Why are we underlined? Expensive method invocation adds a node at the point my cursor's at. Why is this expensive? Yes, why is writer suggesting this? Why is this considered? Performance critical context. Unity event functions update, late update, and fixed update are called very frequently. Similarly, methods invoked such as coroutines can be suspended and resumed per frame. It's clear that these methods can affect performance of your game. Well, yeah. So why are you calling out my tiny function that puts a debug log in? These methods are considered to be a performance critical context. Inside of the context, writer will add performance indicators to indicate how expensive methods and operations. These highlights are not traditional inspections such as warnings or suggestions, like the warning I just saw. The code isn't wrong, but is doing something that is known to be expensive and avoiding that. Got it. These are the only ones that have debug log calls in them. And yes, debug log calls do get slow. That was interesting. I thought it was giving me a reason why I shouldn't be calling functions from here. But no, the rest of them don't have it. Okay, cool. But yes, I'm just using debug log to debug. A reasonable use. So we've got these values in there that should be executing. The other one that I was looking at, we had designer. We're not setting the designer code anymore. So what's the value in here? We've got align normal. I don't need align normal in here anymore. I'm going to get rid of align normal. I don't need that one in there. That also means that I can get rid of this. And it's not in align normal anymore. Delete. Yeah, I don't think I need anything from that one. My code should be set to replace it. Let's return to here. Oh, hot reload. You did what you were supposed to do. Nice. Okay, happy I have you in there. Next, let's go over to here. Check that one, and when I press this, it moves the object. What's actually moving the object right now? Any of these ones are moving the object. But why? Okay, does hot reload have a function up here to actually reload and reset this stuff? The alignment is not correct. It seems to have its axis reversed on what was that, Y and X. So we set the scene view position, but then nothing should be moving the object to those points. We draw the button. What actually sets the position? Okay, we create a local variable for the scene view position. Then we set the raycast and translate transform. We're modifying it from right here. We do still have the code that runs, and this executes anytime that a character is not null. Okay. And then inside of this, we are resetting the position to that variable. So yeah, I don't want to set those. I'm going to get rid of that. I don't need to set the transforms. I was questioning that before, but didn't pay enough attention. All right, so we gather whether or not it's a child of what we're trying to interact with, that this is, we're making sure that we're not interacting with ourselves. We're not putting the cube on the cube. Oh, I'm changing the different modes of like these things. Got it. Okay. So hotkeys are associated with the grid mode. V goes to vertex snapping. All right, well, I'll reconsider those later. B and N. I don't see anything changing from those. But I also don't see any debug log messages coming up. Isn't my code calling this stuff? Oh, I've got that on the wrong spot. Okay, so I need to make a change here. In this case, I'm going to say, let's get rid of this stuff. Alt. Alt. Equals And this one is C or, but that needs to be wrapped up as well. So let's put that into parentheses like that. Bingo. Okay, so now I should have node add and node move. And those should appear inside of here, and the object should not move when I press this. Is that changing because it's used up here? Okay. Byte value of C equals C or X20. Which forces it to lowercase because it always puts the second bit. Not the second bit, is that fifth bit? Fifth? Oh, no, I can't count right now. All right, so inside of here, Z. What am I doing wrong in my code? All right, let's put a breakpoint in here and attach that. All right, does debugging work when I have this set up in here? Still importing. Let's go to the game's running. I don't want to run the game. I don't need to run the game. I just want to hook it into it. Connect it to Unity Editor. Attach to Unity Editor. Over here, collect that, select that, and then Z. Did we get something? Oh, it's finally connected up to it. All right. All right, let's go back into here. What? Oh, okay, yes. Do a full recompile. All right, so now that we got that, we select that, and we press A or Z. That doesn't seem to have had any reaction at all. Didn't seem to get to this point. It didn't seem to get to this point. If C equals 0. Are we not getting that value again? All right, we're going to put a debug log in here. It finds it and it exits. It leaves before it gets to the functions. Okay. That makes so much sense. The code was working fine, and then I got rid of those points in here, but I had copied this code down into this. Now, at this point, I want to escape. We're going to break out of the for each. All right. So we break the for each. And over here, live streaming. No, it's still doing that one. Okay, so break. That now just breaks out of the for each instead of exiting the entire function early. We no longer need that to be executing or having a breakpoint. And now inside of here, we should be able to do just a hot reload like normal. Node add, node move. Okay, good. So those functions are now being called. Now inside of them, we got all this extra stuff in there. I don't need this one. Well, I'll keep that in there. So now I can get to the real code of this. Update is supposed to be handling the debug draws. So in this one, I'll just put a Boolean. No, if you got the object selected, then you are in the world and you are editing those particular values. You're using it for that purpose. That's the intent. All right. So now I need to start filling in the functions. We have node add. Oh, awesome. So log is considered an expensive method, and it just calls that out. That's perfect. That is a really nice feature that Rider has. I think a lot more highly of Rider now. Okay, so we don't need to debug log this. We know that it's being called. I assume the other ones would be as well. All right, so when we add a node, we need to add the node to the current point. So I need a list to actually store this information. So to begin with, let's just create a list for adding these nodes. I can start removing them after the fact. So add public list vector 3 nodes. Let's see, nodes equal new. What? Why'd you fill something in there? Just that. That's good enough. Control dot and import missing reference. What did you pick for your missing reference? System.collections.generic. Perfect. All right, so public. Yeah, I'm just adding it to there. I'm not adding the other lists yet for managing the connections. So node add, and now I need this to be on the normal. I've got the position in normal. And do we also have a float in here that stores this? Let's go to this one, and we're going to put this inside of a class. If I put a string inside of there, I can't set it. I can. All right. Public struct instruction fields. All right, so now we got instruction fields inside of there, and now I'm going to put this other information. Control X, Control V, and it complains now that I'm actually trying to set the value. So putting this in here and copying the rest of it out. Control X, and now during the constructor, no, during the awake, public awake. And on the awake, I'm going to say, oh, I need the actual field in here. So public if instructions equals new instruction fields. Okay, we set the instructions. This one needs to be serializable. System.serializable. Okay, and in the awake function, we're going to say instructions dot, and that's supposed to be public now. private, but this one is serialized field. Instructions dot instructions equals there. Perfect. So that should actually set the instructions value when it first starts up, and it should be minimizable when it's in there. Let's test this out. That does actually need to do reloading in order for that one to work because I am manipulating the inspector. There we go. Instructions. Now it's got a drop down and it's empty. Why? The awake function should be setting the instructions. Read only should not be affecting the actual string value that's here. It's as if the awake function is not being called. Or it's like it's setting the value after the awake. But the value, all serialized fields in Unity should be set before it actually gets to the awake. Whatever. I will leave this alone for now and come back to that and fix it later. I suppose I could just return it to the way that it was. All right, it's still there. The instructions will remain visible. Now we've got the world position. Let's go back to the function that's actually important. Nodes. We are setting the world position. We are going to be adding to nodes. We're also going to need to draw the nodes onto the screen. So vector3 nodes. 1236, we're good. List vector3. We've already got the nodes, I just need to add them. So now we're adding a node. We're just going to say nodes.add, and this will be mouse world position plus mouse world normal times, and what is this? We're going to be setting it from the height. Public float distance from surface equals, and we're going to set this one to 4 for now. I think 4F was what I wanted. Is this already in here? Is that why it's complaining? Because I've got it there. Yeah. We're going to move these values up. Grab everything. Control X. Get them up to the top. All right, distance from surface is already set. Delete. That one's fine. Last hit point. I don't need that anymore. Distance from surface. Okay, so that adds a node. It adds it the distance from surface. That should be good. Okay, so next I need to display these. So that should be happening during the update. So inside of the update, we do the draw update, but we only do it if this is the currently selected object. So the draw update is going to go through each of those points and display them. So I've got code comments in here that call out what to do. No, getting rid of that one. That's not how I'm doing that one anymore. All right, for each. Yes, I'm using a for each. Big deal. for each var v in, what did I call it? World positions, nodes? Probably just nodes. Nodes. Dot draw. I don't want to use a debug draw. Not for this. There should be other elements that would work better. Deep editor GUI dot preview texture draw rect. GUI dot. Okay, back to this one. What was one of the functions to use for this? Unity draw sphere in scene for debugging. I don't want it to be a node. What is this one? Gizmos. That's what I'm looking for. Gizmos. Gizmos dot draw. What have we got? Draw wire sphere. Now it needs information. So center is V. That's got to be lowercase. In V, and that one is the radius is going to be distance from surface. I wanted to store both of those pieces of information. Okay, because I need it for baking this mesh. I'll leave it for here for now. Right now, I should be just adding these nodes that get drawn. Now, I need to set the gizmos color. So gizmos dot color equals color dot orange red. I think that's what I was using for the other item too. All right. That should be working. Let it compile. Does that one always fall behind? I guess it wasn't. All right, let's see. Z. Whoa, okay. Draw gizmos is not happy. Can only be used in on draw gizmos. Okay, I'm doing this in the update. So we're going to change this over to on draw gizmos selected. Then I no longer need to check if we're selected. Cool. Okay, that's not doing anything. Why? Clear. Make sure nothing new is coming in. Oh, what is this? Node move. Okay, yeah, node move is still responding. This one is not doing anything. It is adding nodes. Okay. It is adding nodes. We got a whole bunch of nodes right around the same location, and they are all close to here. A Y of 14, is that? Yeah, that looks about right. What's the... Yeah, it's 4 from this one. I'm setting it to a normal of this. That means its normal is actually pointing up. That's not correct. That should be coming out on the x-axis. Hmm. Well, let's double check that. If I go to here and I say, let's reset this list to 0, and now I'm out here, I select this one and press Z. I get one item that should show up from here. Yeah, Y is the one that's really ending up far off there. It's got Z. Z is correct. I'm moving across the Z axis this way, and I've been changing those values. So I see the value start at like -5 and then start making its way up to 3 because I'm over here and moving my way across. And this is pretty close to 0, 0, 0 in the world. Now, the position of the object is at 0 here. Wait a minute, what? If this object is at a Z of -19, then that means the objects might be getting rendered somewhere else. Let's go to the inside of the wall. Anything over here? No. Distance from surface is 3.87. So the distance is reasonable. That's what I was expecting. I click to the center of this one. Now let's zoom, change the angle, click. That changed the x-axis. Oh, that cube is far away, so that would be more like there. Still, it's a bigger leap than I expected. And then do this one again. Yeah, the position is changing on the z-axis, even when I'm clicking to about the same spot. Designer.y is never being used. That is a mistake. This one. Okay. Change this to a lowercase s. All right, let's go back to here. We're going to clear out these values. 0, enter. Now we're selecting this, and then Z. All right, put something on the surface of... Oh, this is better. That's what I was expecting. Okay, so it's still not drawing where I'm expecting to see them. Oh, do I have gizmos turned off? That would show up in game. Gizmos. What about for my script? Gizmos traffic system. Traffic system doesn't show up in here. Am I not using the on gizmos draw function? On draw gizmos selected. What? Where do I have this? Is this inside the actual class? This is inside of the class traffic system. So let's go over to documentation. AV Andra gizmos selected. Just do a search. Maybe I entered that one wrong. So inside of here we have void on gizmos draw selected. Let's just copy that one for a second. What about that wasn't highlighted entirely green? Did I have a typo in there? Maybe I did. I think that was more just an editor error catching up. All right, so back into here. Gizmos should operate inside of this area. Okay, yeah, that's looking correct for the numbers. Why are we not seeing anything being drawn? What is this? Reload. Did it not like something? It had a little red error thing showing up over here. I didn't look to see what was in the console, but it cleared it when I hit the reload. Let's assume that it needed to recompile the code to get the UI elements to show and try this again. Select. Yeah, there they are. Okay. All over the place. The size is kind of huge for what I was looking for, but oh, well, they're not going to be that close to each other. Okay, so let's go back and reset this down to 0. Enter. So now we're going to go to, oh, yeah, we're just going to use the tools. Let's create a spot around here. We'll create a pathway here and here. Another one like right there, and another one up here. Select that again. Another one there, another one there. We're going to put one here and one here as well. Cars can really just use this anywhere. Okay, so I've got points being added to this. Now I need to get lines inside of here as well. Oh, and I should be able to just navigate the scene. So now that I've got that, I can go put one up here as well. Yes, okay. That will get a little confusing. I'm going to keep the edge ones close to each other. All right, Z. Now, one other thing about this is that there should be no dead-end code. So Z, Z, no dead-end points inside of this. Z, Z. Oh, and these have to generally be wide enough for the freight systems to run on. So let's put another one here. Z, Z, and one over here. Z, Z. What? Why can't I not add one now? Okay. So now I definitely need to start getting lines connected in. I also need to have a selected node. So selection. Let's take care of selection right now. Selection is going to be based on index, and that one should show up in a different color. Okay. That's taking care of the drawing. Now, what have we got? We need to know which one is the selected one. So let's get a selection tool in there. Public int selected node index. equals -1. Its default will be -1. Now, put in this one, public struct debug fields. And inside of this one, it is system.serializable. Private debug fields underscore debug. That's a struct. I don't need to set it. It'll come up with the default values. So inside of here, I'm going to start putting these other values inside of the debug. I'll expose all of them there. Sure. Not all of them. We'll keep nodes out of there for now. Also, should it be private? No, it shouldn't. I need other classes to access this. So we're going to go with public. All right. Debug fields. Why are you unhappy? Struct with field initializers. Okay, not acceptable. That's fine. All right, so we got debug, we got nodes. What is nodes unhappy about? The same name is already declared. Oh, I copied this stuff out of here? Yeah, get rid of that. Just put that one back. Now, that stuff's not available in there, so that's going to be underscore debug dot. Anyone that is missing right now just gets prefixed with this. You know what? We're going to change that name to just debug. Apply renaming. I do not need the old one. We can get rid of that. Now the fields where it's using it, it's going to complain. I want this .debug. Yeah, whatever. But now I'm missing debug.log, right? I am. All these things to try to make the code a little bit cleaner. Let's add a using statement inside of here. Using debug equals Unity engine debug. Wait, if I told it to default to using debug from Unity engine, why can it not find a log message? Was it debug.log? Why is it still using mine? See, these ones over here should be this dot, but it's not. Debug.log. Okay. Does Ryder not understand this? Am I doing something wrong? I mean, first of all, I'm reusing the name debug in two separate states for two separate purposes. And that's generally considered a bad thing, but it should be this dot debug. Debug fields, I guess I'll just go with underscore debug for now. Yes, apply refactoring. In that case, we don't need the extra this is. I just don't like having an underscore in front of the names in my fields. All right, was there anything else that had that? No, that all looks good. Okay, so formerly serialized. Again, we don't need this one. Get rid of it. Okay, I want that accessible, so it's public. No other attributes are needed right now. Node move. We set the world positions. Now we need select. So select, change the current selected node. Now the selected node is going to be based on the selected node index. So whatever one that is, it will be highlighted. So let's go down to the drawing and make sure we can highlight it. So we're going to say, in this case, it's not going to be 4, it's going to be, or for each, it's going to be 4. And this will be int I equals 0, I is less than nodes dot count, I plus plus, break that one in there, and var v equals nodes I. Get rid of those two, delete. Oh, I do like that it shows the color right there. I don't think Visual Studio does that. That's nice. Okay, gizmos, draw wire sphere. Yes. Keep it at the size. Yes. Now, if it's going to be a selected node, we're going to say if selected, what was the variable that I created to determine whether and which index is selected? Selected node index. If I equals selected, why does it not see this? Where am I? Draw? Oh, it's in debug. Okay, that makes sense. Underscore. One of the reasons that I put a debug class in there is that this is a designer tool, and it allows me at any point in time just to expand it out and see what the private fields are, effectively what I'm not showing to the designer normally. That way, if I see something wrong, I can quickly expand that, and I don't have to have all the debug fields up. All right. And because it's a struct, it's not going to affect performance or memory use on how it gets compiled. It would just be this exact same as if I had the local fields inside of there. Okay, so that should be showing everything now. If it is a selected index, we're going to say gizmos dot color equals color dot chartreuse. Sure. If it weren't for something like this, I wouldn't know what the color chartreuse was. Okay, and else it gets orange red. Let's change it to orange red. That seems more like it's a warning state. Dot could go with blue. I feel like something lighter than that though. Corn silk, cyan, dark cyan. Will dark cyan, I think that'll be okay. I was debating if it will blend in too much with the grays, but the grays are not blues. That should be easy enough to see. All right, now back over to Unity. unsupported changes. Recompile it. So these should all change to blue. There should be no selected one. Actually, the selected index might be 0 to begin with. Did it lose all its data? Is it just not drawing anything? Now what? Debug. Oh, distance from surface is not set, so that means the size is not set. Yeah, there. So we're going to set that one to 4. And then selected node index. Oh, check that out. That's it. I can select different node indexes in here. And it's highlighted in green. Perfect. Okay. And this also stores the position for when I'm calling a function. So if I'm in here and I press Z to add a new position, let's put it there. What? Okay, I should have been able to do this. As long as the mouse was over this and that item was selected, that should have worked. So this is being called on scene GUI. And the event that I'm comparing it against is just whether or not the current character has changed. So we don't have anything that exits out of this unless the key hasn't changed from the last time. Okay. But we've got our current selection. Oh, we need to find the current selection now. So we need it to look through and find the closest one to us. All right, so where is my selection? Node select. Set. Nope. Selected index. All right, set selected index to closest node. So in order to do this, I need to go through each node that we have, and that's going to be for each node, for each vector 3. No, I'm not going to do that. Let's just go with var v equals nodes, in nodes. We're going to need to know which one is our current selected one. So v3. Oh, and this is index. So I need to do this as int. So let's just rewrite that. First off, vector 3 current position. Oh, I don't need to store the current position. Vector 3, let's go with float dist squared. Distance squared equals in float dot in max value. All right, with float dot distance squared equals max value. Now we're going to say float current index equals -1. Now we're going to say for int I equals 0, I is less than, which one is this? This is nodes dot count, I plus plus. So now we're going through every one of these nodes and we're going to start checking the distances. So we need to get the distance. So the new distance is going to be float dsq equals vector 3 dot distance from, and that is nodes I, comma, and the other one is going to be our current one, which is transform dot position. Not transform position. No, the current selected one. We need to get the current selected index. We also need to have a selected one. So let's just go if selected underscore debug dot selected node index is greater than -1. Oh, if it equals 1, then we're going to put in just a report on this, debug.log error. No, we're trying to select something. We don't care what's already selected. It's the distance from the cursor point in world space. Mouse.world position. That is it. Debug mouse world position. Okay. That's what I wanted to find. Okay, so we're asking for the distance from the mouse's world position to that current node. And now, if dsq is less than distance squared, then current index equals, can't do it yet, we're going to set distance squared equals dsq, and current index equals I. All right, so we got the closest one, and then finally at the end of this, we're going to say if current index equals -1, then do nothing. Current index is greater than -1, then we'll do something. Because otherwise there's nothing to select. No, let's just do equals and we'll exit out of this early. Okay, if current index equals -1, then we're going to say debug.log error warning. No indexes, no points, no nodes to select in the traffic system. Comma this return. It'd be kind of nice in C# if they had if they allowed us to do return another function, like a void function. That way we can just say return debug.log warning, because it doesn't return anything, but that's fine. We're returning it. And even if we're returning a void, or if we're taking a string and we're returning it to a void, it means we don't care about the output, which is especially valuable on functions where what would it be like aggressive inlining. If it has aggressive inlining, it tries to put that code directly inside of there. And so if it imports the function code instruction sets directly inside of there, then it'll also realize that the return type goes to void at the end, and it doesn't matter. And it could save a little bit of performance here and there. All right, not a big deal. All right, so if current index is 1, no node selected. And the other potential option is that the current index is greater than the list of nodes, but that would seem like an impossibility unless there is currently a multi-threaded operation happening against those, and there should not be. This is all happening in the main thread. So no other checks necessary. Now, inside of here, we have a current selected node. So we're now going to say current index underscore debug dot selected node index node I there SNI equals current index. This one is an int. Oh, current index is, that should be an int. Oh, and this one I don't want distance. I want square magnitude. There we go. And with this one, we just subtract the two. There. Okay, we're getting the square magnitude, which is magnitude is the distance. Square magnitude gives a is where it cuts out some of the work for it. All right. However, that means that we have to compare against squares, but we don't get the actual distance. We just get the square distance. Still works either way. If one magnitude is greater than another magnitude, then the square of both of those are also the same greater than comparison. Okay, selection should technically work now. So let's try this. Now that let's clear out the code or clear out the errors. Now, what is my selection in here? I don't have any instructions being listed in here, and I can't paste anything. I can paste stuff in there. Okay, let's go back to our code and actually just paste these values in. All right, cool. So now select node as V. Oh, compile error. Yeah, do it. Or hot reload. It didn't like. That's because log error takes 0 arguments. No overload takes 0 arguments. What am I trying to? Did I just stop doing this one in the middle? What was it? What was my reasoning for it? Selected index. We didn't care if something was already selected. That was the problem. I'm also going to need background cars for the traffic. So now let's go to traffic. We got those ones in there. Let's select another one with V. V is not doing anything. I think I need like a hotkey to select this item. V. Okay. Okay, V does seem to work, but that also did expose that without... I can just hold V down, and if I do, I can just move over the different items that are on here. There. And then I let go of it. Perfect. I do like that. Okay, now the other issue with this is that if I have selected traffic from here and now I'm selecting V, it doesn't work because hierarchy is currently the selected window. And the problem with that happens over here. We are in Traffic System Editor on Scene GUI, and we have nothing that cares or checks to see what window we are in. But apparently the on GUI does not operate unless it's in that panel. Okay, something is wrong there. You know what? I don't care. We'll come back to... Yeah, no. I want a hotkey. I want a function on this one. So with that one, let's go over to here and let's say public static find or select traffic system. Oh, void. Select traffic system. And this one also needs to be a menu item. And so now the item name is tools slash, oh, we're going to go with Vigilante. Vigilante slash traffic system. Activate traffic system. Use traffic system. Okay, so now inside of here, that should create the menu item. And now for this one, we need to select the object and select the scene. So when we're doing this, when we go to scene view and we want the current drawing scene view, let's go to that. Dot, can I select something? Unity C# select the from code. All right, so notes on that one. A focus. It has a dot focus command. Is that true? Dot focus. Yes. Okay. So we make sure to focus on it. On the scene view. The second thing is that we need to gather the actual game object for this one, our traffic system. So that is game object dot get component find game object. We only need one. Find any game object, and that is traffic system. What is it returning? The traffic system. Okay, so it returns the traffic system, and then with that one, it is we want to select that one. So we're going to say home selection dot. Oh, we're going to get the object. So var tf equals new equals this. So that's the traffic system. So now traffic if traffic equals null, it won't have anything to select. We're going to put in debug. Debug.log warning no. Please add a traffic system to select it. Comma. There is no comma in this one. No object to select here because there wasn't found. Else. We're going to go with selection dot active object equals traffic. All right, let's see if this works. Oh, I wanted a hotkey in here. So Control A, Unity menu item set hotkey C#. That's not a C sharp. That's a C string. C sharp. Okay. So right there, what am I using? What do I want to use for this? It's not Control Z, Control V, Control B. Like bring me my build environment. Can I do double? Where I have Control KC, for instance, like Visual Studio does for commenting the code. And then inside of this one, I guess Control B for now. What was Control inside of this? Percent B. It's lowercase b? I think so. Find that. Excuse me. Control B. Turn to Unity. This will have something it doesn't like for hot reload, most likely. $125. Now, I estimated 6 hours to complete this task. The task for creating all these is not the point of this. Okay, the traffic node is not selected right now. So to select it, I'm going to hit Control B. Shortcut conflict. Okay, yeah. Build. How about this? Control Shift B does nothing that I can see. So we're going to go change the code to Control Shift B. What was Shift? Shift appears to be ampersand. Ampersand. Okay. There. That should get rid of the conflict. So now no item should be selected after it's done recompiling. And I'm going to hit Control Shift B on the keyboard and see if that selects the traffic node and also has highlight on there. So I should be able to select a new node. Okay, so now Control Shift B did not do a thing. Vigilante, traffic system. Oh, that's Control Alt B. Let's give it a shot. Control Alt B. Alt Control B. Didn't do a thing. Shift is okay. I guess that's supposed to be the pound symbol. Let's try that. Control Shift B. Okay, yeah, that was the pound symbol. So here's the original documentation. Bing came up with a little AI answer and showed the context here, but the example it's going off of uses Alt and Shift in the wrong spots for what it's trying to say the characters were. Okay, so inside here, Control Shift B. Now there's a Control Shift B, build profiles. I don't want that. We're going to go with rebind, select a command to this one, resolve conflict. All right, Control Shift B. We're going to get rid of this one. Remove shortcut. Why did it remove both? No. Vigilante. All right, let's try this again. So I'm over here. I have this thing selected, Control Shift B. Nothing is selected. I'm kind of expecting that at this point. V. Hey, I don't have anything happening right now. Why not? Because it didn't select this. Oh, that's a pain. I suppose I can set it to after I select traffic, it then selects the scene automatically. Maybe? All right, let's just do this. I have some problems with the code. I will fix that as I go. I have enough to move on to the next code right now. So that one is V to select. It means I have to select the actual cube for now. Now I can move to the different objects that it's near. I don't even have to be that close. It's just whichever one is closest. Perfect. And now if I'm moving around while trying to use this, then holding V, again, same works. Now if I move over to that background, it feels like it should be over here, but it's not. Okay, cool. I'll keep selection for now, and I can try to improve the rest of that code as we move forward. How do I bring up the hotkey editor? Unity hotkey editor. I don't need the editor shortcuts. I want the... I don't need an asset store. It's got something in here. Right. How to pull it up. Keyboard shortcuts. Maybe this has something in here. Shortcut concepts, shortcut window reference. Okay, shortcuts window. That probably means, what is this? Edit shortcuts. So edit shortcuts. Okay, got it. Now I need Control, Shift, and B. Okay, any binding conflicts? No. All Unity commands. Inside of this, I want to search for traffic. There we go. So this one is use traffic system, which currently has a shortcut Control Shift B. That one does not appear to do anything. Let's test that. Let's verify that that's really not being called because I don't have any real alerts on it, only if traffic is null. The other one should be setting the active object. It should be focusing the current scene view. Let's go to X. That'll be here. But I should also have a debug dot log traffic in focus V to select. What's this error? Clear. All right, so V is not doing anything right now. Let's go select another item and then Control Shift B. Oh, it selected it. Okay. Now V hierarchy is still highlighted. So that implies that scene view, current drawing scene view dot focus doesn't actually bring focus to the panel. Is that a separate thing? Dot panel, no, dot focus. Are there any optional parameters inside of here? Comma, nothing. Moves the focus to another editor window. This should be working. The keyboard focus should have gone over to there. Okay, so let's do a search, another search. Let's pull it over here. Okay. Does not put the keyboard focus on the scene view. Okay, are they running into the exact same thing? Okay, it was solved. Is this the solution? Okay, they've got a slightly different approach here. Focus window if it's open. Okay. Now they're using it this way. Let's go up to here. What's the difference? We'll try it this one first. So, here. Oh, this is old code. That has a JS example. When was this posted? 2011. Okay, let's see how it does. Seems to be happy on the code side. Let's go into Unity and see what this does. Okay, now Control Shift B. Okay, it says it's selected. Now let's just do V. Hey, it worked. Okay, awesome. So even if I select this building, and then I do Control Shift B, and now I can start pressing V and select the points around it. Excellent. I have a designer tool. And as soon as I did that, that also brought up the instructions and hotkeys listed over here. Perfect. Okay. I don't need nodes to be expanded. This number is going to get big. I just needed to make sure the list would show up. All right. Debug information, that's important to keep exposed for now. Now, back to the code. What's next? I need to be able to create a line or a connection between 2 points. That's going to require a little bit more of this index structure. I'll be back in 1 minute. And I'm back. All right, so inside of this one, we initially have the norm. We want to keep the normals and the positions. that one was kind of important. So instead of actually saving that raised point above the surface, I want to reprocess that each time. The addition is not too expensive on the processing time compared to data loading, so I'm not seeing it as an issue. And it's going to bake for the final game differently. All right, so how do we draw these out? Well, we need the data to be stored, so I'm going to have two separate indexes. Oh, that was one of the issues. So inside of here, I have nodes, and the nodes are the vector3. That's where it's supposed to be stored. Now, I wanted to store the normal, and I want to store the hit point, and then reprocess them. Now, if I have them in separate lists, if I'm going sequentially through every item in the list, that makes sense. That works for drawing. But what it doesn't work for is when I already have the index and I want to go to that point in the array quickly, then it's going to be cache misses leading to it. I'm not going to be able to access that memory automatically, but then I have to do an extra leap. Where if I made a change to this, so every time that I added a vector3 to the nodes, I would have two items. But I could also do this way, public struct node. Why did that just happen? Node, node. Okay. I'm not sure what writer was doing there, but as soon as I would hit enter, it would just automatically delete node. All right, so we have nodes, and now because we have the nodes, the first one is public vector3 position, public vector 3 normal. Okay, and that allows me to rescale and resize those for every single one of them. One of the reasons for this is that different cars operate at different heights, and I've got a way to deal with that in general anyway, just to keep them close enough to the area for driving, but yeah, we'll see. All right, normal, if it's going forward and the position is down from my position, then that means forward. Also, if it's up, it means forward. Okay. So those translate to forward, and then left and right. Everything is going forward. Okay. Oh, that makes sense. But then I can also detect if it's down or up, so I can change my speed mode. Perfect. Or my gravity mode, I mean. All right, position normal. So we're storing those ones. We're going to change this over to node. So now node needs to collect both of those pieces of information, which means that that structure being listed inside the debug fields are going to get bigger. So here we are adding the nodes, and we are, what is this? We're adding these positions. No, this is going to change. New node. So normal, no, position. And then this one is comma normal. No, why would you put that? There's literally a field there called normal. And then I don't need the distance from surface at this point. Okay. So now enter. What did it just do there? Okay, it changed where it was. What's wrong with these lines? Oh, we need to add it. We've got that wrapped in there. Type node with a collection initializer. What am I doing wrong here? Oh, equals. Got it. That was it. I started treating those like fields initially, where I'm using the named field for it, as if it were a parameter or an argument being passed in. Okay, that works. All right, so now we add the node. Now, also, when we are drawing the nodes, that's going to be another issue. Is that up here? There. Okay, so in this one for node select, that's going to be closer to where the original was. In this case, nodes dot position. The world position. Yeah, we'll do it that way. Okay, so next we log the warning, we pass in that. Now we draw them here. It's complaining that we're drawing it here, where that should be v dot position plus v dot normal times debug dot distance from surface, control C and control V comma V. Okay, let's put this in here, center colon, and then the other one is what, radius? All right, so we've got that set inside there. Those systems should theoretically all be working again. Node select, why is that one complaining? Is it because I do a debug log? Only if there was nothing selected. Hmm. Okay, in this case, it doesn't matter. I'm going to put a, what am I going to set? Control dot, disable performance analysis for this method. Yeah, which means that the original one calling it should no longer complain either. Yeah, good. Perfect. Because that's case by case. All right, save it, and now return to Unity, which of course is going to need to recompile. I put hot reload on to try to make everything faster, but of course I'm editing editor code, so that doesn't work as nicely. All right, cool. Control Shift B. Um, why am I not getting anything? Did I make these private? I never serialized it. Okay. Serialized field. Not serialized field. That's system.serializable. There. That will hopefully unsupported changes. Yeah, it's changing the attributes on a defined structure. In this case, it literally changes how other things treat it. So, yeah, that makes sense. All right. Control Shift B. Good. And now V. Let's put one here. Oh, Z and Z. I'm not getting an error, but Z is also not doing anything. Why did it go back to that again? This code is unstable. All right, so I got those four points. Let's put another 2 points down here, Z and Z. All right, it was storing all the information it needed. The bubbles should basically appear directly touching the surface at that point that I had, and then move out away from it at the radius based on the distance that it was. So that's what the car is aiming for. As soon as the car is in that position, that's not correct. Okay, the car's going to need to have its own separate offset when it actually reaches this position with the front of it, or it collides with sphere. I need to do a comparison between a cuboid and a sphere to detect whether or not we are in range. However, I should be able to do a point check, just a square distance between the two positions, and just have something on the front of the car. I think that should be lighter weight. All right, so we've got a few that are in here. Now this is stored in here, and now we've got each of the elements which have a position and a normal. Cool. Next, we're storing positions. Now let's make sure we can select. Control Shift B and then V. All right, selection still works. Okay, so now I have the position and normal in there. Now I need to, let's move an existing node. So first off, if selection underscore debug dot selection node index equals -1, then ignore. If it equals -1, then we're going to throw a debug log complaint here. Debug.log warning attempted to move node, comma, but no node is selected. Comma, this, and then we return. All right, now this one gives us the complaint here. Let's put that on a performance test, disable the performance analysis on that one. Next, what have we got? So we have a selected index. Now we're just going to do another check if the selected index has changed. Well, there should be no reason for it because those fields will be hidden away later. All of it should be read-only. Oh, actually, they are all read-only now. Okay, so node select, and then this one is node move. So now I need to get the closest node. In that case, this is node select. Is that what I want to do? No, I want to move the node. So in that case, it's like I'm placing a new one, but the code is changing. So this was the code that it was before. However, I don't want to use that. I want to get the node. So we're going to say nodes underscore debug dot selection node index dot position. What's that one? Sure. And then the normal is going to be the same thing over here. Grab all this stuff. Okay, what's the complaint on this? Oh, God, I hate that part of it. And I don't have a by reference on this. Can I? Never tried it. No. So in that case, I need to just grab the value and reset it into there. We'll do it for now. Um, var n equals nodes, this one. N dot. And then over here, this other one is also n dot. And now we're going to set this equals n. Yeah, that was one of the issues with structs over classes, and why when you get into class programming, you almost always go with classes, because having to copy the items out. And this struct is not set up to deal with by ref. Actually, does generic list, does C# generic list have a by ref, a ref option for structs? I'm willing to bet there's probably one of the native arrays inside of Unity that supports it. So that might be a reason to switch over to that. Does not have a ref for structs. Okay. This is one of the reasons I created my own in the past and was able to get slightly faster option or speeds out of it. So inside of here, we grab the data, we set the values, and we put it back. I wonder if the C# compiler actually improves the performance because it recognizes it doesn't actually need to create a copy on the stack. Right, so what have we got? Move node should move the node. Let's try this. Of course, editor code must recompile. Oh, let's see if Control-Shift-B works again this time, or decides it doesn't work. I'll need to find a more permanent way to deal with that, but for now, good enough. Think. All right, Control-Shift-B. Everything was selected. V. Oh, it's not working. Click over here. Click here. Wait, that's, yeah, V is to select. So I had to click back into here to get selects working. All right, so now I want the move, which should be X. Perfect. So, whoops, put that back up there. And now V, and now X. Okay, so some custom hotkeys, but when you're using the tool, hopefully that'll be easy enough to remember. Maybe a Control Z. The problem is, like, if I'm doing this and I'm holding down, let's see, what was it? V selects, and then B to move around. No, X to move around there. If every update that it does, it's still in a move operation. So it collects all the changes of the move operation. That's like 20 steps later, 100 steps later. I suppose if I'm inside of one of those, I could store where the position was and then until I exit it. But I'm cleaning up the tool too much. I just need the tool to function at this time and can deal with hackiness to a certain degree. All right, so I got those positions. Now I need to create the connectors between them. So let's do that. Over here in the code, where's my nodes? There. So the node contains the position and the normal. Can I take advantage of the fact that I'm using a node to also store connections? Which ones it's connected to? Okay, so a single node, it has to pull a cache line to grab it. It's sitting in a specific spot of memory. So this only uses 24 bytes right now. So that's 24 bytes. And this one is 12 bytes. that gives me, that's 8 and 32. That's 40 more bytes to use. So with 40 more bytes to use for the cache line, I would have no additional reads if I stuck an array in here, a fixed array of 24, 25, 4 times. I could be using int16s as well for this, but all right, so that's 4, that's 10. That's 10 connectors from one. That's way more than I would possibly use. I'm going to set a value in this. I need a count, and I need, so let's go public float, public int count. It also needs to correct all indexes leading back to it. So this says, here's the index for the item in the array. When I do the remove item, then that means I need to also go back and find all references to a particular value inside of here and update those as well. So the delete will be expensive. Whatever. Wait, for the delete, I could take the value on the end and move that over. So I'm not moving everything in the array. Oh, I can also leave the position open. Yeah, okay. I can leave the position open. So inside of this, let's put a note. Nodes will be left. I'll put a Boolean value in here. That's 4 bytes. Public bool in use. Okay, by default, when we create one, we're going to set in use to true. When we don't use one anymore, we're going to remove that. Okay. If I delete a point, I still need to get rid of all connections to it, so I'm going to have to go back through those ones anyway. All right, we're just going to do a little memory management inside of this. So count is how many we're actually going to use for the connections, and then inside of this one, I want a public fixed unsafe. It's going to complain because I don't have unsafe on. Unsafe context is redundant. Why? Because I'm not actually using it. So public float, public int. Public fixed int equals int what is this one? Public fixed int, and then the name. I need the name, connections. And the number on this one, what if I went to 8? 8 potential connections that it could use. So is this complaining? Is this correct? Why would I care about a rule to put lowercase? The standard C# API guidelines from Microsoft is to put capitalization onto publicly exposed fields. Or publicly exposed members. Why do they suggest using lowercase c? I know that some Unity projects use the lowercase because they built off they learned from JavaScript. They imported JavaScript code and they tried to use the same JavaScript standards, but C# standards are different. And when you're using the language, I tend to prefer sticking with those standards. So I do not like that one being on. If you're converting from one language to another, you should convert to the standards of that language. All right, so count connections. How do I turn that off? Do not show. Good. I can get rid of that one. Yay. Um, Hopefully that didn't get rid of everything and just that one. Okay, so now we got public, fixed, and connections. Now what? Now we need to use them. We got the node, we got the count of how many are in there. So I'm not deleting connections yet. The next item I need to do, I've got the add, I've got move. Let's get rid of that one. Get rid of that one. Oh, okay. It kills that. Resharper. Oh, that's resharper is rider. So that's or JetBrains. So that's just included in rider. Or is that part of the pro that I've got on? It's just temporary. All right, so Node Connect is the next one that's going to happen in here. And in Node Connect, it basically means I need to have a connection going from one node to another. Oh, but in this case, I don't care. Like to operate faster on the nodes, it would make sense that when it gets to the end, it already has the list of which ones are there. It doesn't have to hop to another spot in memory. However, this does mean that I have multiple places in memory where this is being managed. So I have two nodes that connect to each other, and then that means that node A and node B both have a connection to the other node. And so if I delete one, I have to go into the other and delete that one as well. The other option would be to store the connections in a separate array where I can then also put spacing and sizes involved. Not there. All right, so yeah, let's do it that way. We're still keeping these ones. The next one that we have is public connection is public unsafe struct. This one is going to be index map. And the point is to index between two positions within the node's array. All right, so inside of this one, I'm going to store data at specific offsets. Does that really matter here? I can store them as int16s and return them as a single int, so I store less data. Otherwise, what would be the offset? I'd be doing 4 bytes for each one, which means I need 2 of those for every connection. And do I need 2 of them for every connection? Okay. I don't think this one needs to be unsafe. It just has 2 fields in it. Public int A, public int B, public bool is either int v. So the objective of is either, let's put this in an explanation or in a summary, is either A or B equal to V. Return. Do we have does C# have an aggressive inlining attribute. Okay, cool. It does. Well, wait a minute. Come on, where's my inlining function? Thank you. There. Okay, so that should be under... What namespace does this use? Okay, thank you, code, for not actually telling me where, unless that's actually part of the root system. So we're just going to say method implementation in system.runtime. Okay. Dot, oh, open parentheses and aggressive. Okay, aggressive inlining means that it takes this function and the compiler will try to put the commands in with the other one. So it won't be a return. It'll just basically be doing the check inside of here as if it were part of the code that we're calling it. Live. Why is live showing nothing going on right now? Do I have some error? Okay, no, it seems like it's still streaming. The streaming scene is just messed up at the moment. Okay. Catch up with live. All right. Return A equals B. No. A equals V or B equals V. Okay, so that's our index map. And then that means we'll just cycle through them. When it bakes it out, I'll want to bake it out to a structure and a memory setup that's going to operate faster. But for storing it for the designer, I can cycle through all the objects. Okay, cool. All right, so now inside of this struct map, we're now going to create, or from this struct map, we're going to create a new public list index map. Connections, mappings equals new. Why would you do that? Okay. Like there are times when IntelliSense does not need to automatically enter stuff. Does IntelliSense have a different name when it's in Rider? It's basically the same operation as Visual Studio IntelliSense. Okay, so we've got the mappings in there now. So far, nothing has put any mappings inside of it, but this is going to make it a heck of a lot easier to deal with this. So node connect, we just need to find the closest one that we are at. So node move, we need to find the position closest to us. No, that wasn't it. Selection is the one that was finding the one closest to us over here. In this case, I need a function. I'm just going to create a function that does it because I don't want to change our current selection. So I'm going to say public int get index to closest node. Int vector3 position. To mouse. Then I don't need anything added into it. So inside of this one, we got these values. What is this? We got all this stuff here. The only thing that I'm not going to be doing is changing that last value. So X, I take this and I paste it here. Now we get int, and where do I want to put this? This is not to return at this point. No, we don't need to. That would just return -1. So on this one, we return current index. Done. Okay, and on this one, we're going to set this to get index closest to mouse. Good. Hmm. Let's change that structure just a little bit to deal with this change. So int I equals there, we get the index. Now, if I is equal to -1, then we are going to say debug.log tried to select an index, but nothing. Tried to select a node, but there are no nodes. You know what? That doesn't matter. This is an externally used function. No. Node select is that public facing one. This is the one that's public, that's internal, that doesn't get the errors. This one still will express it. All right, so try to select a node index, but there are no nodes to select. Comma this, that selects it, and then finally return. Okay, we have returned it, and then if we have not, then the value is I. Done. Oh, that automatically put the spacing after here. That's part of the Microsoft API design guidelines. I like that. That is following the C# language standard. The big problem that I have with having linting systems that don't follow the standard rules applied on the language means that not only is there a rule trying to do that you have to disable, but it means that there's not a rule to do the corrected option, the one that you're supposed to do, which means that this system is pushing people off towards using the Java standards for naming conventions as well, or JavaScript standards. All right, so try to select a node index, but there are no nodes to select. Context this. Return, we've selected the node, get closest index. Now we have node connect. So node connect is supposed to take a currently selected one. So if underscore debug dot selected index node equals -1, then read. All right, debug.log no nodes to select. Oh, to connect a node, comma, you need a node to be selected, comma, this, return. All right, so the next thing is the index within the range. That's only going to be triggered if someone does something that's breaking the system, which might happen while I'm debugging it, but I want to get those errors. All right, so right now I have an index. I can assume the current index is safe. So to connect that, the next thing is I need to get the node value, node select. I need this one. The naming on this is obvious enough. Int I equals. So this gets the current position closest to the mouse. And now we need to find out if these two values are different. If underscore debug dot selected node equals I. Debug.log. So that means the two values, the two indexes that we're trying to connect are identical. And there's no connection that would make sense there. Debug.log cannot connect this the selected node to itself. This one should have a slightly different operation. So when I'm holding the letter down, the hotkey for it, it should go into a different selection mode. So while I'm holding it down, it doesn't make the connection. It actually just sees where the mouse is and highlights that one with a different color. And then when I release it is when it will actually call the node connect. So in that case, I'm going to create a node highlight function as well to take care of that, but that will be after this one. All right, so right now cannot connect the selected node to itself. That's good enough an explanation. Oh, no, this one should have, please use the, one of the reasons that I'm adding a lot of extra notes here as well is because the tool I'm planning on passing off to someone else to help build out the level. All right, please connect. Please hold the mouse near another point to make a connection between the two, comma, this. That one like that. And then finally return. So now I know that selected index and the I value, the current index, is not the same. So now I should be able to add this to the list. To do that, I want to see if they're already connected and in either way. So I'm going to put an assumption that any index map, but A and B will be different values, but I'm not putting something in here where they are the same. So far, the only code that would have had the chance to does a check for that. Code.log, no, here, this code. So that was mappings. So that is, now we need to check, does this mapping exist? If mapping exists, and that is I, comma, and underscore debug dot selected index, then debug.log mapping already exists between the 2 points. Technically, we don't even need to announce this because the connection's already there, so the connection's made. It doesn't need to be announced. The connection is already made. And return, just return. Okay, finally we need to produce the mapping. And in this case, should I produce a two-way mapping in here? Like create both mapping directions. I'll probably need a function to find both sides, but that's not until I bake. The baked data is going to operate differently. If Oh, and so the final one is, in this case, mappings dot add new index map. And then over here, we break that down into this one. And now the fields are A equals I and equals I, comma, B equals underscore debug dot selected. Now, I know that I've said things about conforming to the standards of the language, and there are a few points where I break that. Um, there's a couple points where I think C sharp, the way that it gets written, violates its own standards. For instance, C sharp organizes its patterns so that when you are inside of a block of code, you tap things out by one. And that's its normal syntax. You don't need to. You could still stuff it all on a single line if you wanted. But they do that. And then that also means that there is an organized point of closing this. So I can see I'm closing it here with these brackets. And that gets untapped. The one that goes away from that, for instance, is a switch statement. You go into a switch statement, then you have cases that it leaps to, which the cases are basically like go-tos. In this case, go to this function block of code, but it doesn't wrap the block of code with the brackets. I understand why they do that, that they also want that principal understanding that it will pass through one to the next to the next. It's just they break the standard there. And that's like the only place, and they didn't need to. They could have done it by just putting the brackets. They also could have done it where they had case and then have case continue and case by itself, something like that. So case continue would be a special keyword indicating that uh, it continues the processing on the next steps afterwards or before, whatever it would use, whatever its design choice would be. I'm not diving into that. Anyway, so I never liked that one. Control dot. So generate a method. All right, so, and now, so I've got these two values, and if we're going to put it as I and V. Oh, we'll just put it as A and B. Sure. Cool. Now, mapping exists. We're going to say, we need to go through each element that's in there. So yeah, that's perfect. And upper will be mappings dot count. Excellent. If mappings I is either A or and mappings dot is either, oh, is either B. So either one of them are B, either one of them are A. In that case, both of them, both A and B, have been found in this. Then return true. Otherwise, return false. Function's done. Okay, so there we are doing our checks. Mapping exists. We are adding a new mapping when we can. And that's it. Now we need to draw it. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to tell that anything happened. No, we'll be able to tell. Let's go check it. We'll have it'll show up in the inspector. No, it won't. The list is a structured type which probably isn't serialized right now. Index map is not serialized. Now it is. Back over to Unity. 230. Okay, what do we got going on? Are you done? Almost there. Okay. So here we select this one, go to this. And now I want to create a line between these two. So first off, we're going to select the new one, which V is the selection tool. So I'm going to connect this one. And the connection, what's the connection code? Connect is C. That works. So C. Oh, mappings gained a value. 0 and 1. Is that correct? So selected node index is 1. Let's see if the other one is 0. That one is V. 0. So 1 and 0 have a connection now. Perfect. So that tool worked. Now we need to do a slight improvement on it to make it a little bit more safe to use. So the first one is I needed to draw the line. I need to be able to see what it's doing. There's mapping exists. We need to draw lines. So here we have the draw gizmos. Now we're going to draw 4. And the upper is going to be not nodes, mappings dot count. Okay, so now inside of here, I don't think there's any special case for like us. There's no selected lines. So now we just do gizmos dot color equals dark cyan. I should go with a different color here. Let's go with aquamarine for now. All right, and then gizmos dot draw line, and then that line needs what? To and from, which is going to be mappings I dot A and mappings I dot B. No, this is the mappings tells me where to go on this. So that means that I'm jumping from memory object to memory object. I could store the position with the mappings, but then the mappings take longer to go through, and I want to be able to get through those quickly. The other one's going to have to jump. Well, when I'm using this and I'm looking at the connections, I have to go through all of them. I have to go through a long sequence. So why not store that in the actual structure? I've got the AB. I want to know the index so that I can look them up. I could look it up by position again, but this will make more sense to do it here. Public. Oh, but if I change it, then I have to go back through the index maps and have that update. Nope. We're doing the memory hops right now. That can be improved later. That's another task or another thing to improve this. But rather than improving the UI tool, the user tools for this, it probably, I was going to say procedural, but no, this one should be designed. It should have procedural that can go through most, but there will always be sections where the user needs to, or the designer needs to come in and specifically choose that these are the routes for traffic. These ones are not. So we need a visualize or a design tool for it. Okay, so where's the drawing? Drawing is happening here, and I need the reference to it. So that is nodes. Grab the nodes from this one, dot, and now I need position. And plus, that one is going to be the same thing again. This, let's get the two values. We'll create these on separate lines. So there plus this one dot normal. times, and in this one I'm using underscore debug dot distance from surface. That technically shouldn't be in the debug setup, but whatever. Okay, and then I want the other one, which is basically the same thing, except it needs the nodes, or it needs the B form. So let's go change them. B and B. Okay, so draw lines are going to get expensive from how many that we're having to cycle through, especially since we're doing memory leaps. I suppose one thing... No, there's no way to get those to cycle in order. The baked code's going to have to be the one that does it. Unless I store both. But then I draw it twice. No. Okay, forget it. I've done enough. So that should draw the lines. Let's go back in and see if we have some lines. Whoa, it's already there. Okay, so now this one is selected. What was the connection? That's C. So let's go over to here and press C. Once it's finished reloading the domain, C. No, still not there. How long is this? We're up to 30 seconds. 32. It is jumping from like different statuses. 35 seconds to do that. And that was after all the compilation stuff. Hold on. It had more. What? And then it lost all what it was selected. Control Shift B. Now I should be able to connect these two. Because that doesn't always work. C. Okay. Now V and C. 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 That made it pretty easy. Okay. What's going on with that one? That one... Oh, it moves at a weird position. Okay, so V... I pressed F. All right, so up here we're going to go with V to select and then X to move. X marks the spot. Cool. So that has a logical placement that makes sense. Great. And because cars can drive over and under each other, I'm just going to have all the cars drive through each other. And then their own physics will fix it. A few of them might get stuck, but I think that'll be okay. A few of you might get stuck in an infinite loop, never able to move on, and I'm willing to live with this. All right, save it. Save it twice. So now I have connections in place. So that's node connect, solved. Mapping exists, solved. Okay, node remove. That one should be pretty straightforward. So node remove, we have whatever is the current selected item. So let's go grab one of these. We need a selected item. So that's node connect. We already have to have this. Because we're going to get rid of the selected node in this case. So down here, to remove a node, you need a node to be, you need to select it. You need a node to be selected. Sure, whatever. Okay, so that gets me out of there. Otherwise, we do have a selected node, and so now I can remove it. I'm going to say public. We've got the selected node index. I'm going to maintain that one for now. We're now going to say for int I equals 0. That's right. I did throw myself a little bit of additional work I'm going to have to do for memory management of this array. All right, that's fine. We'll get to that. This is where I have to get to that. Int I equals 0. I is less than nodes, not nodes, mappings, nodes in this case. No, in that case we just remove that. Okay, for it's just that one. So we're going to say nodes dot remove, and we're going to remove underscore debug dot selected index node. All right, remove at. That's what I wanted. At, got that one. Now nodes dot remove. So right now, because I've removed that, I've also offset the indexes of every single thing after this. So now I need to go fix that. So that is for int I for tab I equals to upper is going to be nodes dot count, and in here it's going to be underscore debug dot selected node index. So for every single one of these, these ones don't actually need anything. That wasn't what I need to go through. We're going to say for int, it's the mappings I need to fix. And that I can do without having to adjust anything from nodes. No, I can do this faster and with less memory if I were to take the last index and put it in that spot. So I don't want to remove that. What I want to do is I want to say nodes if underscore debug dot selected node index. This is so long to type out. So we're just going to say int I equals underscore debug dot selected node index there. And now this value is going to be against I. Oh, let's change it to n. N, n, I removed something extra I didn't mean to. All right, nodes dot, oh yeah, that's right. I don't want to get rid of that one. I want to say if nodes dot count -1 is greater than n. So if it's greater than it, then that means we've got more items at the end. So I'm going to fix that, and I'll need a Boolean value here. No, I can just branch. So at this point, items exist. Items exist after. So I'm going to use the same pattern that ECS uses to copy a value over. So we're going to take the last item in here, and we're going to say nodes. What was the shortcut for getting the last one? C# last index in list. No, I don't want the last index of command. There was a shorter way to do it, and I want to get used to starting to use it. Shortcut with a symbol. Okay. C# last index in list, new shortcut symbol. It was like this one. So I think that's the last one, but let me see if I can find that. Yes. Okay. That's it. Okay. That gives me the last index. So, oh, but that's not what I want it to be here. I'm just going to say this one and then nodes I equals that one. Nodes N. Okay. So what I've just done is I've taken the last node in the array and set it to nodes N. So in either case, I now have to remove and remap things. But I still need to know if I needed to remap things. So we'll keep it over here. And then in this one, we're also going to put an else statement, last item. Okay, so now that I've done that, we're going to clear the last element from this list. Nodes dot remove at, and in this case, I don't think I can pass this in through here, but I'm going to try it. One. Nope. Do we ever remove last? No. Remove at, and that's going to be nodes dot count -1. Oh, I hate when they put these extra things in Visual Studio. Is the same thing. Nodes dot remove. Okay, so that removed the last item in the array. Now I need to go through all indexes that went after n and get rid of them. So we'll do this backwards in that list. For int I equals mappings dot count -1, I is less than, I is greater than -1, and I minus. So now we're going to go backwards through the mappings, and we're going to be removing any element that doesn't belong here. So if mappings I dot is either, and in this case the value is n, if either is n, oh, that should be either is. Either is n. If either is n, then we are going to say mappings dot remove at n. No, I. Remove it I. Okay, so that removes any connections that were originally going to there. Now, the second thing that I have on here is that any mappings that use the value, so I'm already at a particular mapping. And I have removed it if need be. Oh, in that case, let's just put this into a block down so I can continue. There. Once I remove them, then I need to get rid of the extra counts on there and address the rest. Okay. So this one is if mappings, yeah, I dot is either, and this one is So we had the selected index. The selected index is the one that we got rid of. That's n. Now I need the new one. How do I determine the new one? We got the last node. It equals the last node. No, in this one, if either is n, and then we just removed it, but then we used the last one, so I still need to get the value of the last one, so this does mean nothing right here. In this case, I need to create that variable. So int last index equals nodes dot count -1. Okay, so in here I'll just use that last index. So here we're going to say last index. Either is n. Yeah, that's correct. If either is last index, and that means that this one is a connection to the one that we've just moved. So now I'm going to say if mappings I dot a is less than last oh, equals last index, then is either is doing a comparison anyway and going through the values, but it's also being inline. So technically nothing extra is happening. So we're just going to do the same checks. We're going to skip each one of these. And so this same command will execute. Okay. We don't gain a performance improvement by doing the check to see if either of them are there first. Then mappings dot I dot a equal n, the new index. Oh, I'm putting 2 equals it. That's why it's complaining. Now, what is this one complaining about? Because it returns the temporary value because I cannot pass this by reference. Oh, I hate that. Okay, fine. Well, in that case, both of the if statements are going to be checking it. No, it doesn't matter. Only one of them is going to make a modification. So I'll just put in int m equals int mapping. No, var mapping. Var mapping equals this one. What are you doing? That's not how that's going to look. Mapping dot a. Now I have to go manually correct this. Why did you do that, Ryder? What were you stuck in? And then I leave B alone. So now I'm going to say mappings I equals mapping. Okay, that puts the value back. The other one, we're going to do the same thing. Control C. We'll do our check here. And now we're going to do B. B and B. Cool. Okay, so that clears things up. That does the remapping. Otherwise, we only need to do these items down here. We do the remove at, the mappings, if either is this one. That's it. Okay, so now I need to do the second check. We're inside of an if, this one. So let's grab the same code from here. Yes, this does repeat a lot of the same code. last item. And that means that we don't need to check mappings to update. And we also don't move the node. We are the last node, which means we also don't need last index anymore because that one's not used. There's no reason to do a continue here. The code is much smaller. All right, theoretically that one's done. Let's see if I can now delete an item. It will get an error if it can't, because it's supposed to remove a main node, and then it goes through the list of the references, but those are indexes to the nodes. So if I removed that from the list of indexes, then I'll get an index or an out of bounds or whatever the exception was. All right, so over here, Control Shift B, and now let's select one, V. Okay, we selected that one. Let's see if we can remove it. Now, where is that? A, B, that character to select to remove was B. Okay, B. No error. Okay, now let's use V to select that one. And what's the one to add a cursor? Z. Let's put one here. It did not add the lines. That one was supposed to be something that it does automatically. So let's go connected there, and then what is it? V and C. Okay. That's doing what I wanted it to do. It's got the elements in here. I still need this available for debugging right now. And then I need a bake command that's going to happen in here. And it seems like B would be the proper bake command, but I can rearrange what the codes are. The last one is remove connections between node and cursor. So I need to be able to remove a connection where I created a route and decided I don't need it anymore. Because what if I had one that has like 4 or 6 different routes connected into it, or different nodes connected to it? The only option I would have is to delete the actual node, one of the nodes, and then go back, add a new one, and then re-add all of the other ones, which is not part of the mentality that the designer would be holding on to at that point. All right, let's go to V and in here. Control Shift B, V, and then X was to move it, right? Marks the spot, yeah. V and then X. Cool. So now I want to be able to get rid of a connection. So I'm going to put this one and connect it by X, by C over to this one. Excellent. And also over to this one. So I should be able to, at the end of the next command, get rid of those two lines by, what is it? N. Pressing N to negate this connection and that connection. All right. Save everything. And this is a good time to cut off for now. All right. Talk to you all later.